The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy New Year from the Ecke Ranch. I'm Rebecca Siemonsma with you today. I also have my friend Roger Kehoe on the line for this webinar. This is the first of our Poinsettia series for 2013, and today we're excited to talk with you all about the new introductions from Ecke Ranch. We've got some great new families with full colors to introduce, and then we're also going to talk with you about our trial collection and some exciting ideas that we have in terms of design concepts, etc. So, Roger, you want to take a minute to say hi before we get started?
Yeah, welcome everyone. This is our first webinar for 2013. Hard to believe it's already 2013. Hope you all had a great Christmas and selling season for your poinsettias for 2012. Reports have been very positive for this year, and we're looking forward to the upcoming year. Got some great new products here for you.
All right, thanks, Roger. Yep, it's hard to believe it's 2013 and that we're talking about poinsettias already. Seems like we just sent them out the door. So, already introduced ourselves, Roger and Rebecca with you today. Just quick comments about asking questions. Many of you have been on our webinars before and know that you can hear us, but we can't hear you. We still encourage you to ask as many questions as possible using the question and answer toolbar to the right of your screen. And we'll address as many questions during the hour time that we have you today that allows. And the session is recorded and it will be posted at ecke.com actually in a new format on our within our bulletin board within about 24 hours after the session. So you should be able to review the recorded session and share it with your staff, etc. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started, and first Roger's going to go through some program details for 2013 before we show you the new intros.
Okay, on the program side, we do have our early order discount in place until February the 5th, so be in touch with your brokers and try to get your orders in. Certainly the main purpose today is to help in the process of doing production planning for 2013 and taking a look at some of these new varieties that we have that may fit into your program. Summer shipping season is listed there, weeks 21 to 39, and we have 4 forms available: unrooted in 2 different sizes, callus cuttings, rooted cuttings, and our Ecke Snap 78. One tray is 100 cuttings, and there is a 4% overcount in that. The minimum order per cultivar is 100. For rooted, it's 200. And for unrooted cuttings and calloused, it would be 1,000 cuttings. And in cutting types, we have 2 cutting sizes, the Euro at 1.5 inches and the standard cutting at 2 inch. So that would be the stem length from the base of the cutting to the tip. And then we have our calloused cuttings, the ES78 and rooted. And there's a nice photo of the ES78 product. It's a pre-stuck callus cutting, and it's produced from offshore in our Guatemala operation. It's available to ship to you, and it saves you about 2 weeks of production time in finishing. So in the rooting process, you might normally allow for 4 weeks in a liner program, and you'll save a couple weeks with this product. Eliminates sticking labor, and you don't have to stockpile trays and media. Reduces those material costs in handling and storage and so forth. Here we have the core varieties. Our products are broken down into, I think, 4 different categories. In the core varieties, that would include most of our commercial varieties like Prestige, Sparkling Punch, and some of those new introductions that we have. Volume tier discounts are available for the larger orders, and discount on unrooted cuttings from weeks 31 to 39. So those late cuttings that you need for 2-inch, 3-inch, and some of the small 4-inch straight-ups, we do have a reduced cutting cost during those weeks to help support those smaller pot sizes. In deluxe varieties, we have Winter Rose Dark Red and the Winter Rose Early Family, and volume tier discounts are available for those, and the discount on the unrooted cuttings again for the late season shipping, weeks 31 to 39. Program varieties would include Polar Bear, which is priced competitively. It costs the same as our standard cuttings like Prestige in the commercial group, but there is a 2-cent higher cutting IPF fee, which goes to Polar Bears International. There's an additional POP, point of purchase package for marketing, and it's available at an additional price. And there are volume tier discounts available, and again, the late season discount applies. The specialty collection has the very key new and some of our established products. Orange Spice being one of the newer ones in this group. We've got Ice Punch available in it, and of course Visions of Grandeur. And this is the more expensive cutting that we have, as most of you know, and there's no volume tier discounts available for this one, but there is point of purchase marketing material available for this collection as well. And now for 2013, we've got some new varieties available. Premier Pink, Premier Jingle, Jubilee White, Jubilee Jingle, and Early Twilight. So we'll start out talking a bit about the Premier family. It's a new family for us to have. Go to the next slide. We've had the red on the market. It's a very uniform series. They are all the same genetic base, so the colors are nice and bright. The branching habit and so forth are all the same, just different colors. Timing would be the same, bract form. And you can see a nice shot. That's from our open house that we did in Encinitas, California this year. Okay, characteristics would be it's a good replacement for premium. It's got bright red bracts, and the other colors as well are very vivid. The color is very intense, so that the dark green foliage does not affect the darken the white or reduce the brightness of the pink. They have a lot of good color pigment in them, and yet against that dark foliage makes it very very attractive. They're naturally compact, and so growth regulators are typically not needed for this series, and likewise we would not recommend putting them into for some of the larger container sizes like 10-inch pots, and large straight up. So it's naturally compact, very important to know, and a lot of this information, of course, we have available online with specific details by different variety for culture. It's upright, V-shaped branching. We've got a nice picture of that we'll show you. And as I said, best for the smaller container sizes. It works well, this series works well in the energy efficient production programs, the cool grow type programs. So we have details on those production protocols on our website as well. So take a look. But anyway, this is a great series that holds its color well under the cool grow, and these are early varieties, so that they will come in for you very nicely in your November shipping season. Ideal for high density production because of the compact habit. So 7 to 7.5 week response time. And note the initiation date here of around September the 10th for a natural finish of November the 5th. So this is on the early side, but they hold well. The centers are very nice. They're large centers on them, and you can schedule them so that you have a good early product for the season, and it holds nicely into through November and into December. Just remember to schedule your planting and pinching according to the early initiation date. We've highlighted in previous webinars that we have many varieties now that initiate before September 20th or 25th, which was always the standard of some of the older genetics years ago. And so we have to be very aware of when we have initiations occurring and the rules of not pinching close to initiation and not applying certain growth regulators around the time of initiation. means that you have to be aware that you're not going to impact the crop in a negative way by being on top of that initiation date, like September 10th, with your pinch or your growth regulator applications. And they can successfully be grown without the use of PGR. So premiers are, as I said, naturally compact. Here's the sample schedule for 6.5-inch pots. Just a central latitude. Short days, week 37, pinch 33, transplant 31, and you'd be sticking these cuttings on the 27th. And note, we're working backwards, pretty standard. Start with your bloom date and then go back to your production schedule. So, the key here is that these early varieties should not be on the same production schedule as some of the later initiating varieties like Prestige. So you can adjust your schedule a week earlier for northern regions, northern U.S. and Canada, and then a week later for the southern regions into the Gulf states. And here's that nice shot of the strength, good stem strength, strong attachment at the main stem, so you don't get branch break, and nice architecture, upright architecture without lateral growth. So they'll sleeve well, they hold well, and they're very strong, very free branching series, and just a great addition of, as growers have requested, good compact early varieties and bright colors and large centers. There's a bright red. Note this one finished in the Northwest, so often these early varieties are great for those really dark regions of the country or the world, and being a November 5th finish, this is certainly an early variety, and they do quite nicely. You can see those nice centers there. Nice presentation. Premier Red, nice shot of that. Nice and uniform, and I think you can see the centers are prominent. I know in some markets it's very important that the centers be highly visible, and with this series they certainly are. Premier Pink, you can see that nice bright clean pink color against the dark green leaf. It was number 21-10 in our trials. So as you look through our information in our literature, you'll typically see in parentheses a number, and it's to indicate what the trial number was. So if you are a trial tracker or you use our trial collection program, you can reference back to these varieties and use the information that you've collected and apply that to these once they get these commercial names applied to the variety. Okay, Premier Pink, there's another nice shot. Nice form, nice habit. The bracts don't overlap a lot, nice presentation. I think the Premier jingle is one of the nicest jingles, if not the nicest jingle pattern on the market. It just makes a great plant, you can see there.
Okay, thanks Roger for talking with us about Premier. I'm going to take over for a little bit here now and talk with you about another important family that we have made some new introductions to this year, and that would be the Jubilee family. We introduced Jubilee Red probably 3 years ago to the market. Jubilee Pink was last year, and now this year we've added 2 more colors to the family. And as Roger said, very much like Premier, they're a very uniform family. They are same genetic material for each of these varieties, and so because they are natural sports, we see a lot of uniformity in terms of timing and habits. So, they're an excellent choice for multicolor combo pots, etc. So some characteristics of Jubilee. Really, Jubilee is a good replacement for Freedom. Freedom's a variety that's been on the market for, 20 years now. And there's some characteristics about Freedom that we really have been able to overcome with families like Jubilee, including increased stem strength, resistant to stem breakage, better cyathea retention, just some superior genetics here with Jubilee, but that same type of kind of bouquet style florist quality that you get with Freedom. Jubilee has upright V-shaped branching that is resistant to stem breakage. It has superior cyathea quality that's resistant to premature cyathea drop. Even under low light conditions, it forms nice large cyathea that hold well on the plant. Has a very strong, healthy root system. doesn't tend to show sensitivities to root damage or to, poor sluggish root systems. And it is a perfectly matched series, as I said. So this year we're introducing the white and the jingle, and they're very well matched compared to the pink and the red. It is a true mid-season variety, so it has an 8.5-week response time and initiates September 25th. It's going to finish right between Prestige Early Red and Prestige. So, typically we see Prestige Early Red finish anywhere between November 15th and the 20th. We see Prestige finish anywhere between November 25th and December 1st in most parts of the country. This is going to come in right in between there, so about November 25th. As I said, it is an excellent replacement for Freedom. We've got a lot of the colors represented here now with the new introductions. It does not heat delay in the south, so for those growers that have struggled with Prestige Early Red or Prestige because of the heat delay that they see, this is a really good option. But it can also be grown cold successfully, which is kind of unique to Jubilee because normally we don't recommend our mid-season varieties be recommended or be grown cold simply because the delay that you see is too significant. But in all the testing we've done, Jubilee performs very well, and we see that normal 10 to 14 day delay, based on temperatures. So Jubilee, with your delay from cold temperatures is going to make it, a very late red on the market. But if you're servicing like the church markets or fundraisers and you need plants for that late, it's a good option. And it does perform well all over the world. We've seen Jubilee do very well in the extreme heat of the south, all the way up into the low-light regions of Canada and Northern Europe. So very versatile family. Here's a sample schedule for Jubilee. This is going to be more kind of a traditional schedule because it is a mid-season initiator, or a mid-season variety and a 25th initiator. So you can see that it's reflected here with the later initiation and a little bit less time between pinch and flower initiation for vegetative growth because it does have more natural vigor to it than Premier that Roger just talked with us about. And, just like Premier, we want to adjust the schedule and add 1 week to production in the northern region and 1 week later in the southern regions. Just some great shots here from our open house in Encinitas this year. This is Jubilee in a really large format, and those are like 12-inch tubs with single stem, non-pinch plants in them, and you can see it's just got a really big, showy presence, nice large bracts, and nice large centers. Good Cyathea. It retains the Cyathea very well, and it has a really good Cyathea count even under low light. Definitely, as Roger mentioned, the Cyathea is a very important part of the plant in certain markets. So this is a good variety if the Cyathea presence is very important. Jubilee pink is also a very nice pink. Oftentimes in these genetic families, the pink is less than desirable as a standalone pink because it can be kind of muddy or greenish. But Jubilee pink is a nice clear pink. I think it would make a really nice mid-season standalone pink if you were doing something like Marin or trying to size Enduring in larger container sizes for that mid-season because they have a clear pink color. I think Jubilee pink would be a good option to look at. An outstanding upright habit with Jubilee, and this picture here really shows that kind of bouquet presentation style that we talk about, very similar to Freedom. I don't want to say that the bracts cascade down because they really have kind of an upright, fresh appearance, but it does have that kind of dome of color that you see with Freedom. And this is Jubilee Jingle. Good application here for multicolor pots. Or a standalone jingle because it does have very nice habit, low reversion rate, nice pattern on the bracts. And this was 310 in the trials. So as Roger said, if you're following our trials or have purchased the trial collection, this one was in the trial collection and numbered 310. And then we have 2711, which is now Jubilee White. And it is a nice white, if you're thinking about red, white, and pink combos or red and white straight ups or, any of those types of applications. I think the white has a really good place in your program for that use. And the last new introduction that I'm going to talk with you about is Early Twilight. Last year we introduced Monet Early to the market, which is an early season naturally compact peppermint type. Has kind of a Monet kind of pattern on the bract, but not any kind of similarities to Monet Twilight at all, the old variety that is very vigorous, very late, light green cultivar. Both of this Early Twilight, which we're introducing this year, and Monet Early are naturally compact, naturally early, and dark green leaves. The only similarity is that they have that Monet or peppermint pattern on the bracts. Early Twilight's going to be later, or excuse me, not later, darker red than Monet Early, and I'll show a picture in a couple slides of how you would compare the two. Early Twilight is a good replacement for ice crystals. It does have kind of that Monet type pattern, and it turns definitely more of a red color as it matures. Bracts are peppermint held over dark green foliage. It is naturally compact, strong branching that's resistant to stem breakage. And this variety really is a strong brancher. It's just a really nice tight little plant. Doesn't late season stretch the way that varieties like Freedom would, for example. It is ideal for energy efficient production, and it doesn't heat delay in the south. And Roger and I were talking about this variety before the start of the session, and he was commenting on the ones that he has in his home and how well the post-harvest qualities have kept up. It appears to have really superior post-harvest keeping qualities. It is an early season variety with an 8 to an 8.5 week response time. It initiates approximately September 15th, so with that 8 to 8.5 week response time, it's going to be ready anywhere between November 15th and November 20th. It does show color very early, though. In talking with our breeder about this variety, she commented that the bracts tend to expand quickly and show color very quickly before the cyathea mature. So it's probably going to look like it's ready for sale and may even be ready for sale in your market before you have full anthesis, which would be November 20th. And this is one where you probably could add additional grow time and put it in larger containers. Sometimes with those compact varieties, even if you add additional grow time, it's just hard to get that plant mass and chassis to the plant even if you add additional grow time. But Twilight has nice plant habit, good branching, good branch angle, that it would work well in a larger container size if you added additional grow time. And this is a sample schedule here, very similar to Premier family in that it's compact and early, so the schedule needs to reflect that. It initiates about September 15th, and so here in a central location we're allowing 4 weeks between pinch and flower initiation for adequate vegetative growth. And then just like the other varieties, if you're growing in the north, you would add 1 week to the schedule, and in the south you would reduce the schedule by 1 week. And good picture here of Monet Twilight next to Monet Early. You can see the Twilight's got a lot more red flecking to it, more kind of reddish rose color versus Monet Early, which is more kind of pink with lighter red flecking. But they're very well matched in terms of timing and habit, and so they can easily be grown together. Culture's very much the same. Just a little bit different finished color when they're completely mature. Excellent peppermint color here that holds well. This picture was taken under black cloth and about 2 weeks passed when it was completely mature, and you can see that it continues to turn more of a deeper red and the plants are holding really well. All right, I'm going to take a moment to look through questions. Roger, do you have some comments while I'm looking at questions?
Yeah, I had a couple of comments. One is on this peppermint type. When you get a darker shade of peppermint like that with more red tone in it, if you are in the south and you tend to see bleaching, or in the southwest region of the country where the light levels are very bright, and you'd get less color saturation in some of those novelties, certainly this Early Twilight will give you the opportunity to have good color depth if you've seen any kind of bleaching action that would dilute and brighten or whiten out some of that coloration. So very good for that. The other thing, as we go through, we're talking about the production planning and different forms that some of these genetics offer. Be sure to use pages 16 and 17 in our 2013 Ecke Poinsettia catalog. The products are all listed there, including the new ones, and we have response times, foliage color, bract colors, of course, but also the height indicates the relative vigors, and energy efficient use or not, space efficient, and then all the different product sizes, anywhere from hanging baskets and trees to some of the mini pots and 4-inch pixies. So a lot of really good information there that makes recommendations by variety for the use of the product. So a great tool to sit and have at your desk when you're doing that production planning for your Christmas crop.
Okay, so we've gotten lots of questions about Jubilee. One particular comment was that it looked really good in 6-inch, but they had trouble with size in 8-inch, and wondering if that's not an appropriate container size for Jubilee, and if there's certain container sizes that we wouldn't recommend. So do you want to go ahead and comment on that, Roger?
Yeah, actually Jubilee is a very versatile series. It has good vigor. It's more vigorous than the Prestige type of genetic. But it's less vigorous than Freedom. So you should be able to get the size that you're looking for in those larger containers. So if you're not, maybe take a look at your production schedule and make sure that you're allowing sufficient time with a well-rooted plant from pinch to the initiation.
Okay, we have another question that's come in real specific to those large tubs that we showed both in the ranch house and along the drive in Encinitas. Do you know how many plants were in those tubs, Roger?
I think they had 11 or 12 plants in there, and those were not 12-inch pots. Those were whiskey barrels along the driveway there, so they're very, very large.
Okay. Another question is, what would be the most suitable replacement for Freedom, best replacement for Freedom? And, there's a lot of good options, but I think Jubilee really fits the characteristics of Freedom the best with that bouquet, florist-style presentation and the good family of colors to go with it. Do you have any additional suggestions for a Freedom replacement, Roger?
No, that's absolutely true. And then we also we'll be talking about some of our new trial varieties that also could be used for that and have different kinds of presentations as well. So I think we've got a lot of great options. One of the things I like with Jubilee is as I service the Gulf State and Florida and the South, Deep South, is that the Jubilee does not heat delay. So it's not a problem for those growers to successfully time the crop.
Okay, thank you, Roger. With that, we're going to go ahead and keep moving in the presentation now and talk with you about the exciting genetics that we have for the 2013 trial collection. Roger's going to talk with us about those.
Yeah, trial collections for us are nothing new. We've offered them for years. It's a rooted product form, and it just gives you a chance to take a look at some of these new numbered varieties that you'll see in the national trials, and get a chance to put them into your own greenhouse and your own production. And you can use them to not only learn how they grow and finish them, but you can also run them by some of your customers and see if there's consumer or buyer interest in the different colors, varieties. Some are novelties or just the overall presentation. So it gives you a great jump on the market and an ability to take a look at varieties that very often end up in the catalog and offered in the commercial programs. Not always, but very often they are. So here's some details. What we do is we pack 104 cuttings in a box. There's 13 of each variety packed, so you get 8 strips of 13. We can pack 8 varieties in that box, so it's a nice quantity. I know some growers say, well, Roger, 13 isn't enough. I really need to do, at least a couple dozen. They may buy 2 trial collections. I mean, you can buy 2 or 3 trial collections. We go into production on these and usually have good quantities. Always, though, we suggest getting orders in early because these new numbered varieties are in limited production for the first year. The variety selection is subject to change and availability, but we do try to stick pretty much with what we're about to review in the product lineup. We ship the rooted cuttings from California, but the cost includes freight. So for those of you in the East, that includes the freight, the cutting, intellectual property fees, and also, it's a rooted liner. Makes it very easy for you to go ahead and handle and plant. So suggest that you factor that in when you order your collection and realize that you can plant that later than you would calloused or unrooted poinsettias in your poinsettia finishing program. Okay, the first one we've got on board here is number 3811. It's a brilliant red color. It's an early to mid-season with a medium vigor. Has smooth red bracts and dark green foliage. So by smooth red bracts, we mean that they are not highly textured or ruffled. It's a nice, smooth without the washboarding and some of the highly textured finish to the bracts. So that's one of the things that we look at. Of course, we look for that dark green foliage color, and this has also the V-shaped upright habit, making it easy to grow and good for high density and easy to pack and handle at finish. There's a nice shot of it there in the trial in Encinitas. Nice large centers. You can see that dark leaf there, nice and uniform. Just a great new variety with a different kind of presentation. We'll talk about that in a bit. Okay, 1360. This is an early to mid-season red variety. Approximately 8-week response, dark green leaf color. More vigor and earlier to flower than Prestige. So yes, Prestige is our #1 variety, and it's extremely successful, but certainly it doesn't fit all product categories and all markets. So we're offering reds that have different presentations, a little bit different habit. Sometimes there's colors that go with these reds, so we're able to introduce them as a series like we did with Premier. You get all your colors along with your red. Red's still 80% of the market, so these reds are still important to us. And whether the centers are tucked down into the bract or prominent, how large are the centers, how long they last. I mean, these are all attributes that we look for. This one here, as you can see, has a fairly wide, rounded bract, as you see those front bract leaves. So that's another trait that we're looking for. So there are some differences, even though it's a red poinsettia. By the time you look at vigor, timing, the shade of red, the centers, the presentation of the bract, and this architecture of the plant, there are major differences, of course, between these different products. So this is why we're putting these other reds out into the market to take a look at what is available to be used in very specific applications. A lot different than it was 20 years ago when there just wasn't so much to select from. We've got quite a wide array of genetics here. Okay, there's 1360. Now that's at North Carolina State University, national trial. On the left you can see Prestige red. In the center is Jubilee. And then in this trial collection for this year we've got 1360 available. So you can see the difference in little different in habit and presentation, timing, and bract shape. University of Florida shot there on the right, again showing Prestige red as a benchmark against 1360. In 1996, this is an interesting plant. Right away, if you look at that photo, the top photo there, you can see just how individualized and prominent the bracts are, with the centers right up there, right at the top of the presentation, at the top of the bract. So at the bottom photo, you can see, looking down on a little bit, just how individualized the bracts are. The bract leaves aren't as wide as they were like in 1362, but you can see here a really cool presentation, and you've got an 8.5-week variety. It's mid-season, medium-sized blooms with a smooth, flat presentation, as I mentioned. Dark leaf color, moderately vigorous, upright branch habit for sure, and of course available in this trial collection. So very interesting. You can see the major difference here in the overall presentation with this variety. And there it is compared to Prestige and Jubilee on the left, and just a Prestige there at University of Florida on the right. So you can see the larger bract leaves of the Prestige at this point. You can see this is December 1st, and you can see just a different kind of presentation. But some growers maybe want a larger center than Prestige has. Well, certainly this one would have that. So those are the attributes that we're looking for here. And of course, that great stem strength and ability to pack pretty close to 100% of what you produce. Reduce shrink. And here's 1303. And here again, you've got a little bit different leaf shape here. If you look at those bracts, they've got a little bit of an oak leaf shape on the edge, pointed. It's a great presentation. Again, it's a very full bouquet type of bract collection. It covers all the green leaves, and the centers are prominent. This is a little hard to tell with the photo, but this is a very dark colored variety, very deep, real nice color, and you know, very bright, and just really stands out. So again, the color, how do the colors look under lights? This one looks really good under lights. So if you've got some bad artificial lighting and presentation, this is one of the varieties that will really look good. Doesn't have as much of the blue in it. So the color is not as dark and deep as some of the varieties I mentioned before, like even Prestige. It's a brighter red. Nice Sciathia size and count. Finishes ahead of Prestige red, but it will experience some heat delay. So something to trial in the deep south, but certainly has to be factored into the schedule. And here's 1270. Now again, a different presentation. Nice and bright. I think we'll get into some details here in the next slide. This has the dark leaves, really strong branching, upright habit, and it can be vigorous. So this one is going to fill out in those larger containers very nicely. There in the upper photos you can see the overall presentation and architecture, and in the bottom Freedom red compared to it. So you can see even compared to Freedom, I think the centers are you know, more prominent with this, and you've got of course the superior architecture in these newer genetics. The vigor is similar to Freedom, so I think we all know Freedom is one of the more vigorous varieties. And here's we've got a pink coming along with this as well. So there's the red and the pink together. You can see the nice presentation there. Kind of a perky, upright, bract presentation. It doesn't lay out and hang down and cascade. You know, it's a flatter, more upright presentation there. Looks nice and fresh. And 1362 is a very early season pink peppermint type on about a 7-week response. Has a very dark green leaf color. I think the darkest in this type, and it yet has a really nice coloration to it and very large centers. And this has that cascading bract. So you can see the presentation here is different. You know, this is the kind of plant great for baskets, centerpieces, and the like, and finishes nicely out, you know, in a 6-inch, has a nice full presentation. Wide bract leaf, you can see that. It's not pointy and narrow, and again, nice fresh centers, long-lasting. It has a vigorous growth habit, so early PGR applications are recommended. Since it is early, when you're working with early varieties, we don't recommend late PGR applications, heavy applications on a different timing. You need to get those applications in early. And all these details, again, as we come out with these new varieties, typically before these trial collections are shipped, Rebecca puts together summaries of some of the technical information so that you can go ahead and you know, study that and understand the genetics a little bit better as you grow it for the first time. There's 1362 at NC State on the left, and compared to Prestige there on the right at University of Florida. And Premier White, you've seen the rest of the Premier series, 3112. We're offering as a trial White to complement the rest of the Premier series. And we're also working on a northern trial collection. This would be to address low light regions in the northern U.S. and Canada. So we're working through varieties that would work well for that and putting together, as you can see there on the list, 8 varieties. That would be one strip of 13 of each of the varieties available as rooted cuttings to finish and test in that climate. Any questions, Rebecca?
Yep, we've got some good ones. One specific here to the trial collection, and just maybe if we can give our customers a peek into our process here. We have, in this particular trial collection, there's a lot of mid-season reds. There was some mid-season reds in last year's trial collection as well that are not commercial introductions this year. Can we just share a little bit, about why we trial so many mid-season reds and why they don't all make it commercial introductions right away after the trial collection, if that's maybe the right way to word it?
Yeah, well, it's a great question, and I sort of addressed it a little bit earlier, saying that there are different, shapes, there's different presentations. There's leaf and bract shape, there's the size of the cyathea, there's whether or you have a more cascading presentation or you have that upright presentation. The ultimate in upright presentations is Jester, for example. So, and there's different markets. I mean, what we see is that growers in the South have different issues to address and need possibly different genetics than growers in the North, and not every variety is as widely adaptive as Jubilee is, for example, or Prestige, which are grown all over, north to south, east to west, and all around the globe. Some of these varieties are to give growers an opportunity to work with these reds in different shades in their markets, and to select products that, whether they are shipping to a florist market, or they're shipping to a grocery store, or they're shipping to a big box, or they're shipping to just a garden center, that is looking for that diversity and difference in presentation, just as to offer to the growers the opportunity to select. And with these newer genetics versus like Prestige, we do have colors in the back of many of these so that we're able to provide a complete series. And that gives you more options, more flexibility in the program. Things time together, they can be grown together. There's a lot of product that's grown red, white, and pink together in a pot, or red and white together, or pink and white. And so we want to address it because still the reds are 80% of the market, and they're extremely important, for different uses. There's all these different, we used to grow, I think, something like 17 different product forms in Encinitas that, required to select the best varieties for growing trees, or growing wreaths, or growing 2-inch pots, minis. So that's just some of the reasoning that's behind that. They don't all make it. They don't all become commercial varieties, but there's reasons for that. Maybe they don't test well. The market says that it's not particularly interested, but we'd like to get those out and give growers the options to select.
So, good question about numbered varieties that were in the collection last year that I can answer, and one was 1295, which we've gotten a lot of positive feedback for, and then 1303. Both of those are varieties that you may have seen in trials before, and as Roger said, there's various reasons why we don't go right away to commercial introduction. We don't want to saturate the market with mid-season reds. 1295 and 1303, they are both in the trial collection, or 1295 is not in the trial collection this year, but it is a variety that is in a program where we do have larger quantities available for trial, and so not the 13 of each plant that you would get in a trial collection. We want to make sure that it works in all regions of the countries, that it fits specific market needs. And so, if it's a variety that you saw in the trial collection and you're interested, you saw it last year, you see that we don't have it as a commercial introduction this year, there is an option, for you to contact your broker or to contact myself or Roger, and we can talk about possibly placing, some larger numbers of those trial varieties so that you can evaluate it in a larger quantity. Let's see, another question would be, let's see, what's another one that's come in? Okay, question about, question in the trials I'm not sure if they would have received it in a trial collection or if just individual trials, but our euphorbias that are, have numbers like HC118B, and we're not talking about those today because, our euphorbia types we really are marketing for non-traditional Christmas sales for things like Valentine's Day and Mother's Day, and things like that. So you don't see any of those varieties listed in our trial collection here for that reason, because we're just talking traditional poinsettias today. Okay, so I think we've covered all the questions specific to the trial collection. Now I would like to introduce to you, not necessarily all new ideas that we have here, but just some product forms that do offer the grower the opportunity to maybe get some increased margin and a higher price point. And, I think that's one of the challenges that poinsettia growers face most is the number of poinsettia growers, while it has become smaller in the last few years. There's always the need for growers to differentiate themselves and to differentiate their product form, in a market that can be somewhat saturated with poinsettias. And so I'm just going to show you some interesting ideas that I saw while visiting growers this year in different regions of the country and areas of the world. And then if you're interested in any of these product forms and it's not one that you've ever done before or have specific scheduling questions, I can address those offline. Also, some of these require kind of a different pot type to use, and the first example here would be it's a centerpiece type poinsettia, which a lot of growers are doing now. We call them tabletop poinsettias, where it's either a small pinched form or like a straight up form in a bulb pan, like an 8-inch bulb pan. This particular one here is in an 8-inch bulb pan, and it's using Chianti, and it's planted on like a 2.5-inch or a 2.25-inch micro schedule. So it's a very short schedule. You're basically planting cuttings right on top of flower initiation so that you keep the amount of foliage under the bracts very minimal. But then also what they've done is they've left an open space in the center and inserted a pillar candle at finish for the tabletop, and it's it's really kind of a cool idea. Now with these product forms here, there's obviously increased labor involved, there's increased material costs, all sorts of things, but this is really designed to to have a higher price point at retail and hopefully a higher margin for the grower. Some recommended varieties for this type or for tabletop types where you're trying to keep that short height for a centerpiece would be Chianti, Ice Punch or Sparkling Punch, Orange Spice, Jester, Enduring, or the Premier family that we've talked with you about today would also be a good example. Another product form that's very important in Europe, this is probably the #1 size grown in Europe, would be 4-inch non-pinched or 9-centimeter non-pinched plants, and you can see you just get one really large flower on the top, and then some varieties produce babies or kindles that we call them, where they've got the smaller side shoots that come up and form smaller flowers. This is a product form that we don't often see in North America, but it is very common in Europe, and just offers something different and unique to the customer versus what they're used to seeing with a 4-inch pinched plant. Double pinch poinsettias are also something that we rarely see anymore. The thing that's kind of cool about double pinched is it's not necessarily on a lot longer schedule. When you're allowing time for 2 pinches, you do have to plant and pinch a little bit earlier. But what you get is multiple larger quantities of multiple smaller flowers on plants. So like these are 6.5-inch pots that you see here. One is Jester and one is Winter Rose. And same Jester, same Winter Rose that we've always had, but to the consumer, it's a really interesting look because, they just see those smaller, more unique flowers. And when they think it's unique and something that they've never seen before or that their neighbor might have, oftentimes they're willing to pay more for it. So there is a document on our website that talks about double pinch poinsettias if you're interested in trying that product form. We've talked a lot about combos lately, poinsettia combos. I have to say, at retail facilities that I visited this year, I did see a lot more combos than I've ever seen before, and not just, the poinsettia pothos combo, things like that. We see a lot of things like the poinsettia and the euphorbia here, poinsettias and ferns like we see in this picture, even poinsettias and orchids, and most of these are assembled at finish just because for ease and cultural conditions and things like that. But the possibilities really are endless when you talk about these combinations, and especially when they're assembled at finish. You can really come up with some different unique ideas. One I saw this year but wasn't able to source a very good picture of was poinsettias and rosemary together, which is kind of a traditional Christmas herb that people use just for decoration but also for cooking, and I thought that was kind of a cool idea. And this is one that Roger showed us last year that was grown at NC State, and this is ice punch and a sparkling punch combo. And the key message here is we don't have to just stick to the red and white combos or the pink and white combos. The possibilities really are endless, especially when we come to the market with things like Monet Early and Early Twilight. There's the opportunity for you to really kind of think outside the box, especially when we have these genetic families where response time and habit is the same. You can really come up with a lot of interesting combinations that consumers are interested in. Another good picture here of the 1-2 punch, and this is an 8-inch 4-plant per pot with 2 ice punch and 2 sparkling punch. Micro poinsettias or mini poinsettias, there are some growers around the country that are doing this product form. It's not always the easiest product form to produce. A lot of times, ebb and flow benches or capillary mats are needed for these. With moisture management, scheduling and growth regulator needs are a little bit different, because basically you're sticking a cutting right on top of flower initiation, and then in order to keep vegetative growth basically at a minimum, there is some bonsai drenches involved, but we do have some good technical information available on our website for micro poinsettias, and the key is just to choose varieties that have naturally small leaves and naturally small bracts already, so that the proportion of plant to pot is appropriate. These were some winter rose, actually from Japan, I think. But you can see you kind of get that nice big flower head and just minimal foliage underneath. And consumers are always interested in these because the price point is smaller. You can grow, but for the grower, they're beneficial because you can grow a lot in a very small space, definitely high density. Also, when Roger talked earlier in the beginning about the reduced price on those cuttings on the late shoulder, this is a good opportunity here with this one, because if you're getting these cuttings in mid-September, then there's an even further discount on the price. Mini wreath is another interesting product form I saw this year, and this is grown very similar to the tabletop type in that it's, again, stuck kind of on a micro schedule right before flower initiation, and you would want to choose varieties like Chianti, Orange Spice, Jester, some of those that have a naturally smaller leaf and bracts, so that they fit within that mini wreath format. This one obviously requires some special container sizes, special container to do this, and I do have some sourcing information for that container. If you were ever interested in trialing this, I could help provide scheduling and sourcing for that particular container for that format. Mini trees, definitely something that's been around for a long time, a 6.5-inch tree. Why these are consumers are definitely willing to pay more for this type of topiary product form, but these aren't on such a terrible long extended schedule like your large tree formats that you're planting in April. These are really more of a traditional planting, anywhere from mid-June to the 1st of July, and you can have this mini tree type, and so that's why I've included it here today, because it's an easy production, space efficient, because you can grow at a pretty high density, and then it does offer you the ability to sell these at a higher price point. Non-pinch combos are still popular. Again, this kind of goes back to the combo discussion I had earlier, where you really can think outside the box. Premier makes a nice straight up, Jubilee makes a nice straight up, Winter Rose always makes a nice non-pinch combo. So possibilities, don't just have to end at red and white. There's other things that you could do here. The particular one shown here would be classic red and white, and then Winter Rose early red and white. And Renaissance tubs are something that we are seeing an increased interest in. The cut flower types are the really large Winter Rose types with a little bit more vigor, and not so much being sold as a cut flower, but more being sold just as a really large presidential type format. And a lot of growers are doing like these big 12-inch tubs like that, 12 and 14-inch tubs, and planting them on their tree schedules for the really large forms. But Renaissance has some nice vigor to it and nice, the ability for the stem to get long enough that you don't have to put these on such an extended schedule to get this big format. So you can think about Renaissance one of two ways, that it makes a nice really large format tub like that, or also as a cut flower. And what a lot of growers are doing now is actually shipping the tub and letting the florists take the cut themselves. So you're not having to mess with cutting and processing the cut flower, but you're shipping the tubs whole, which is a value add to the florist, because stem life is always going to be significantly longer the longer time they leave it on the plant. So they just cut as they need it. Any additional comments, Roger, while I'm looking through questions?
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of different ways to market the product, and I know that certainly the 6.5-inch, 6-inch red is the backbone of production. But I think all these different product forms, allow us a chance to create a lot of interest in the plants, show consumers different ways that anywhere from a basic red can be utilized to even getting the novelties involved in some different product forms. I know many growers that I work with have become sort of experts at producing things anywhere from a mini tree to maybe the 2.5-inch straight-up minis. And as some of your photography there illustrates, Rebecca, there's just a almost unlimited way to go in different directions with these plants, and their genetics are so good today to work with. A lot of opportunity to create more interest and keep the product out of the commoditization, in the eyes of the consumer. Better gift items.
So a good question that's come in that, we'll talk a little bit more about variety selection coming up, but this is one particular area that we didn't touch on. Would it be possible to briefly give our listeners a list of varieties that would do well in the Southwest, where they have high light and very dry conditions and possible high heat as well?
Wow, that's a big question. The Southwest is characterized by high light and low humidity during production. That's wonderful. At the same time, it's a challenge, especially for some of the varieties that don't have quite the vigor. So I know many of our successful growers in that region have selected varieties that are not compact and are using some of the larger, stronger type genetics. The classics, the prestige do well there. With Premier, you can work with it, but you may want to, either give it more time or offset and trial it. And certainly, most growers will trial a variety, even if it isn't catalog, for a few years, just to get used to the different genetics and the protocols to produce. But I don't think there's any varieties that couldn't be grown in the Southwest. I've worked with growers in that region for years, and it depends on the equipment supplying enough shade and humidity, and just good production protocols that work in that region. And there's challenges. Pacific Northwest is dark very early in the fall, and they have low light levels, and Florida has high light, high humidity, and very warm temperatures. So what we're doing is introducing some of these new varieties and some of our established varieties to work in those different regions. I would suggest contacting Rebecca. She does keep lists of products that are being used and are best for different regions. If you have specific issues, bring your particular problems forward, whether it's you see that your bracts are small, that you're getting heat delay, that you're getting poor root systems, or whatever it is, and we can help steer a total solution to your particular situation, depending on whether or not you have fan and pad cooling, you've got misting, what do you have, fog in the greenhouse, what are the tools that you have to work with, and then we can match product up to those conditions.
So this particular question relates to early prestige, and they're looking for a replacement for early prestige, not a specific reason in mind, but wondering if Premier would be a good option to replace early prestige.
Yes, it would. It would work. Early prestige can be a bit larger, though. So, as you get into some of the larger sizes, it would be a little different. But for 4-inch, 5-inch, 6-inch production, I'd definitely be trying Premier for that category. Plus, you've got the colors behind it.
Okay, we'll keep moving on in the presentation, and good questions about variety selection here. Roger's going to talk with us a little bit more in detail about variety selection before we finish today's presentation.
Yeah, here we've got, combo pots are very popular, and the Ecke genetics are deep, and we've got a lot to work with. So we have families of the same genetic line with different colors, and so they work well together. And that would be Premier, Freedom. In early season, you've got Freedom, Winter Rose Early, Enduring, and Jester. Multiple colors available in those. Mid-season, Jubilee, Classic, and the Peter Star types. And in the late season, you can do Winter Rose. So anywhere from the smaller combos like tabletops, Enduring is widely used. I'd say that Premier is being compact will work really well for tabletop production and hanging baskets as well. And then in larger combos, we've got Classic, and you can use Jubilee in larger combos as well. So we do have products that will size better. And again, if you use the catalog, go to pages 16 and 17 of this year's catalog, and a lot of the product use is there, and help you match the genetics to the product form that you're trying to finish. In single stem production, it's still a market, especially in smaller, either the smaller size. There's a lot of 2-inch, 3-inch, 4-inch single stems that are grown, and then again, there's quite a few of the large grand presentation types that finish, up to 4 feet high, and those are often done as single stem and can be. But here's a list of varieties that are good for single stem production. Some are better than others, but this is a matter of just working with them in your market. These tend to be more upright growers, and good color selection here. And we've certainly used all these. I'm looking down the list here for that type of production. Solstice is an interesting variety, very strong, upright, late, very deep red. So it's a great product to produce a super grand early December large tubs of single stem. And we have strong and easy to grow novelties. I think in years past, novelties required a lot of special care. You look at the Ice Punch and Sparkling Punch, they're very easy to grow. And so they work well together and complement each other, of course, in the 1-2 punch, but with other products as well. So Red Glitter has an introduction from a few years ago in the glitter types. That's probably the easiest glitter type to grow with very steady pattern. It's very consistent and holds well. A nice strong plant that size as well. Tapestry strong, it branches well. It is compact though, so is Orange Spice. So that's 2 varieties that are more compact, but they are not difficult to grow poinsettias compared to some of the older genetics. And now we've got these great new Monet Early Twilight, Freedom Peppermint. These are great peppermint types that are very easy to grow in that class and very long-lasting as well. So I think it's a great point that many of our novelties, they may only be 2 to 5% of sales, but they do create a lot of consumer interest, and they're great in combinations, and they work well, and they're very easy to be successful with and get a good sell-through. Just to get into some of the production scheduling, I know we've talked about this before. These forms are available on our website, but they just help you start from what your product form, pot size, and finish dates are, and then working back to the entire production process. So you want to look at your pot size, finish height, how many plants per pot, blooms per pot. You got to know when you want to ship them to the market, and you got to pick your cultivars to fulfill those needs based on response times and growth habits. So putting the right genetics into the right product make it a lot easier to grow. You can figure out how many days of vegetative growth are required, and this has probably become somewhat overlooked, I think, in many programs, especially since These calculations are more important today where we have varieties that are initiating much earlier than some of the older varieties that were September 22nd, September 25th. So scheduling is critical. And what these charts do, this one here allows you to go north, south, and central based on geographic location and figure out, you know, the number of days of vegetative growth suggested between pinch and flower initiation. And the importance of that is to have a nice full plant with a lot of leaves under the bract, to have uniform branching and uniform flower presentation and timing. Like I said earlier, if you pinch at the time of initiation, you can really mess up the presentation, the branching, bract count, and so forth. So all these scheduling pieces are important to go variety by variety. Vegetative growth adjustments can be made based on the habit of the plant, so whether it's a short, medium, or tall habit. And again, that information is available in our catalog, in the worksheet. Establishing requirements, so how many cuttings, you know, per container, and the number of days required to establish the roots. Make sure you allow enough time to get a good root system before you do that pinch. Otherwise, you're going to struggle and try to look for, you know, maybe chemical solutions to push the plants and try to get extra growth. Give them all their time, let them root out, and you'll be much more successful. And that's all, of course, based on container size. And here's a really nice chart. And again, this is available online. And you can take your variety and find out what its vigor is. And the flower initiation dates are critical there for your timing and scheduling. And the response weeks, and then natural finish. Natural finish is nice because, well, is it 7.5 weeks? Then you have to figure, well, when did it initiate? Saves you the math. You can just take a look there and see, you know, what the different dates are, and take a look at those initiation dates and do all your scheduling, anywhere from rooting, pinching, you know, transplanting. All those protocols can be established with good planning by variety. Great information.
Okay, thanks, Roger. Just a couple quick comments before we finish up today. There's been a lot of questions that have come in, you know, specific to what's the best variety for 10-inch tubs. Also a question about what's the best varieties to, you know, to build an energy efficient program. And Roger mentioned this already, but if you go to page 16 and 17 on our catalog, there's a great big 2-page spread grid that has a check mark by each form that a particular variety is good in, and it also lists energy efficient and space efficient varieties. So it's a really easy planning tool. If you don't have a hard copy of our catalog, the interactive version is available online. It's a PDF that can be easily printed as well. So you can just go and print off these pages, and then, you know, it's going to show all the varieties that we recommend for energy efficiency, or all the varieties that are best in a 10-inch tub, or a large tree, hanging basket, etc. So, you know, I would suggest that if you have those questions about variety selection, to first visit there, and then if you don't find what you're looking for, to be sure to let Roger or I know. We can help you with that. So to finish today's presentation, we just want to touch briefly on whitefly management. Coming off of 2012, whitefly management is probably fresh in every poinsettia grower's mind. We did have some significant issues with whiteflies this year all over the world, and, you know, some factors that contributed to that were likely warmer conditions in most parts of the world and resistance to chemical. In response to whitefly issues, Ecke's making sure this year that we do everything we can to ship 100% clean cuttings or shipments from Guatemala and our different stock bases, and so we are making some necessary adjustments, and one of those would be that we are adding insect screens to 100% of our stock, poinsettia stock greenhouses in Guatemala, and then, you know, as a result of that insect screening, we'll also be implementing some environmental controls and adjustments that will need to be made with the reduced airflow, etc. We do continue to renew our stock base 100% annually. That's something that we've always done, and we will always continue to do it so that we're starting out clean each season. And all stock will be 100% insect-free prior to buildup. When the buildup continues, we'll make sure that everything's insect-free. Every grower should be reviewing their IPM strategies right now. Now is a good time to think about what mistakes might have been made in 2012. Ecke's doing the same thing. We're looking at our scouting practices, chemical selection and rotation, and if there's any way that we can improve sanitation practices in and around the greenhouse, that goes a long way in keeping the pest population down as well. We're reviewing best practices for whitefly management with individual growers and identifying any possible issues. And we're also collaborating with various industry professionals to make sure that our whitefly information is the most up-to-date information so that our growers can be successful with management. And as I said, now is really the time to review whitefly management practices to see if there's any changes that can be made for 2013. And so I've just briefly highlighted some of the issues that growers might face and why particular management practices are failing. One of the reasons would be failure to intensively monitor the pest species. One of the things we saw this year was, especially during that period where it was incredibly hot in late July and early August, leading into September, whitefly populations were in the greenhouse, but they were somewhat dormant. You didn't see adults up flying around in the air a lot, and consequently scouting levels were reduced. And then when temperatures returned to more normal, favorable temperatures for whitefly populations in late September and early October, whitefly populations exploded. And then at that time we also saw things like canopy closure, sign of first color, and when you have those things, your chemical choices become really limited. It also becomes really difficult to get good spray coverage. So, just the thing we want to stress here is that scouting is important throughout the season, regardless of environmental conditions. It's important to pay attention to labels. Most chemical companies update their labels on a yearly or every other year basis, and so you want to make sure that you're using the right rates and that you're using chemicals that are not old or degraded, and that we never recommend off-label use. We want to make sure that you're using the right equipment for the right chemical. Some chemicals are not labeled for like high volume use, for example, or high pressure sprayers, and so you just want to again consult the label and make sure that you're pairing up your chemical with the right type of equipment that you have. Poor choice in tank mixes is another issue. When you have a particular tank mix, pH and water quality can have an effect on how that particular tank mix works. So you always want to read the instructions and make sure that you know you're using particular chemicals together in a tank mix properly. Spray coverage is also important, and improper placement of the pesticide. And this talks a lot about, getting good spray coverage and doing things to make sure you have zero population before canopy closure when it becomes more difficult, because once the population explodes, at that point it can be really difficult to control the population. And then misidentification of pest species. Now that really isn't as critical as it is with whitefly. Hopefully we all know the difference between our whiteflies and our fungus gnats and mites and things like that. One message here would be that it really doesn't matter if it's the B type or the Q type of the whitefly. Control is the same. Resistance management is the same. But if you do feel like you've had particular trouble controlling whiteflies, and you feel like you're making sound choices in terms of resistance management and rotation, it might be a good idea to have your whitefly identified just to make sure that you're not dealing with the Q type, which sometimes can show a little bit more resistance or easier resistance to chemicals. Before we sign off today, we've mentioned several times our website. There's a lot of good information there, including the scheduling document. We also have Onboard, where you can post questions 24/7. I respond to those. Roger can respond to those as well, and we also have Jim Barrett from the University of Florida responding. We also have On Target, our free poinsettia height tracking program, and we will be making some upgrades to those 2013. There probably will be a brief period where the program is down while we're making those upgrades, but we've got some exciting upgrades and improvements to make to that program that we'll have ready to go prior to the season so that you have time to investigate and play with it before the season starts. And as always, I'm available for support via email, mobile phone, or office phone. And you can just let me know if you have any questions about anything that we offered today. Any last comments, Roger?
Yeah, just thanks for attending. Good luck with planning. We're here to help. And I think you got a lot of great choices and different genetics to work with this year. And be sure to get those orders in for your trial collection so you can see what's coming.
Yeah, and remember, EOD is February 5th. All right, thanks everybody. Have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.